Hi guys, my name's Mr. Lead, and today we're going to be talking about Earth's resources. So, what is a resource? Well, a resource is anything that you need for a particular purpose. So, for example, I can say that water is a resource. I need water. This plastic bottle is a resource. I need this, or I'm using this. The chair I'm sitting on, I don't think you can see it. There you go. The chair I'm sitting on, that's a resource for me. The air around me, I'm breathing that in, that's a resource. A resource is anything that satisfies a particular purpose or need. Okay? So with that in mind, the Earth around us actually gives a lot of resources to us. It gives a lot of stuff to us that satisfies particular purposes or needs for us. As a Christian, it's my belief that God has provided these resources. He's right at the very beginning in Genesis. It talks about how He created the day and night. He created the sky and the water, and He filled it with living things. And He filled the sky with sun, moon, and stars. He created all of these with a purpose, and He saw it, and it was good. And for us, all these different resources share a purpose for us. Now, we can consider resources in two different ways. We can consider a resource to be a natural resource. That's something that the Earth just already provides. Or we can consider something to be an artificial resource. So take, for example, the water in this bottle is a natural resource. The Earth already provides water to us. But the plastic of this bottle, that's an artificial resource. You will never find plastic, you will never find the Earth has naturally given us plastic. Plastic is something that humans have created artificially. So plastic, artificial resource. Water, natural resource. Now, when we talk about natural resources, and that's what we're going to mainly focus on, there are all sorts of different types. We got water, like I mentioned before. Rocks, that's a natural resource. The plants, minerals, fossil fuels, air around us, they're all natural resources. This chair that I'm sitting on, sorry, that's not a natural resource. That one's artificial. But yeah, all these things are things that we rely on, and not just us humans. The Earth relies on these resources to continually sustain itself. So a resource, a natural resource, can either be renewable or non-renewable. Okay, so a renewable resource is a resource that can be naturally replacing itself, at least naturally replaces itself within a human lifespan. A non-renewable resource is something that can't replace itself within 80 years or so, within a human lifespan. So let's look at a few examples of these two. So some very common or obvious natural resources that are renewable are water and air and the wind around us and living things and sunlight. Those things are constantly being replaced within our lifetime. They're constantly being replaced within 80 years or less. However, resources such as coal or rocks or soils, those things don't get replaced within 80 years or so. So with coal is actually the remnants of ancient fossilized plants. So depending on how old you think the Earth is, whether or not you think it's millions of years or not, coal once upon a time started out as plants, and it degraded apart and has become coal. So that can, because it's taken such a long time, that cannot be replaced. If we use up all the coal within a human lifespan, that's it. We don't have any more. We've got to wait another million years or so, or however long it's supposed to take. Rocks, that's another non-renewable resource because rocks also break apart and they can also reform. There is a rock cycle that explains how that works. But yeah, rocks also that is not going to reform within our lifespan usually. Anyway, so those are examples of renewable and non-renewable resources. We'll delve into a few of these examples in a bit more detail. Let's first look at living things. So remember, what is a resource? A resource is something that satisfies a particular purpose or need. With that in mind, living things are resources to living things. Yeah, that's right. So if we think of ourselves, we need other living things to survive. We need the plants and animals we eat to survive. We also use plants and animals for other purposes, such as for food, for shelter, and building materials, for clothing, for medicine and fuel. A lot of these things all come from other living things. So an easy to understand example is wood. Wood is a renewable resource. If we aren't using up the wood too quickly, we can continually replant trees to continually provide us with new wood. So this toucan here as well, it's using trees as shelter. This toucan is therefore the tree for the toucan is a resource. It's something that is serving a particular purpose or need. Air, that's another renewable resource. Now, with the term air is a very generalized term. So when we talk about air, we actually have to talk more specific. We need to talk about what air is made up of, because air is made up of a whole lot of different things. Nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide, all of these are also renewable resources. So oxygen is constantly being renewed. We animals breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide. Trees, on the other hand, they do at times breathe in oxygen, but also at times they actually need to breathe in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. And so as a result, they breathe out oxygen. And so because we got animals that are breathing in oxygen and plants that are breathing out oxygen, we see oxygen is constantly being renewed. It's a renewable resource as long as we're not using it up too fast. So yeah, carbon dioxide, it's just the same thing, but in the opposite direction. In more depth, here is how photosynthesis actually works. With photosynthesis, you see a plant taking in carbon dioxide and water, and as well as sunlight and energy from the sun. And as a result, they make sugars, which is food for themselves, and they breathe out oxygen, like you see in this flower do. So there, oxygen is being a renewed resource. And so, yeah, because sunlight is a resource to plants, we also consider sunlight a resource, because sunlight is what provides the majority of energy to the entire Earth. It's what's providing energy to plants, which end up providing energy to animals, which ends up providing energy to us. And that energy also continually gets spread and shared everywhere. So sunlight is also considered a renewable resource because the sun is always giving us sunlight. And that just continually happens. Water, that's one we're going to look into with a lot more depth later on. But water is another renewable resource because it moves around in a cycle. It's known as the water cycle. We already know that water evaporates and into the air and then condensates back down as water. But it has a whole process of which it does this, and it does this all within a human's lifetime. So it's considered a renewable resource as well. Rocks. That one's not a renewable resource. Like I said before, it takes more than a human lifetime for a rock, for a rock to be able to rebuild itself. But it's still a resource to us. We need rocks to help build our society. We also need the minerals that are found within rocks. So in this rock here, you can see all these little speckles here are different minerals. And look, all these speckles here, this is granite, it's pretty much worthless. But there's certain minerals in and other types of rocks that are actually really valuable, such as gold or silver. And on top of that, there is minerals there is also fossil fuels that can be trapped in rocks. Fossil fuels are just any old ancient plants that have now become fossils and can be used as fuels. And there are three types of fossil fuels, which we'll go into later. Rocks. Like I said, there is a cycle to which rocks can be breaking down and reformed, but that takes way too long for it to be considered renewable. Lastly is soil. Soil also breaks down and gets renewed. You can see worms are constantly breaking down and feeding nutrients into the soil, but that usually happens over a course of time that's way longer than a human's lifetime. But if humans can actually quite rapidly increase the fertility of soil through composting. So there are so many different types of resources that the Earth provides us. Some are renewable and some are non-renewable. But remember that we need all these different resources for different things. Each of these different resources serve a particular purpose or need, either for us or for other living beings. Next time we're going to look a lot more in depth at resources we'll need for energy. And we'll see that there are a lot of different types of resources we use for energy, and some, just like we looked here, are renewable, and some are non-renewable. But thanks for watching.